Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Saturday morning, the 6th of July. And in this video, we're sticking with the Jay Slater case today. And he's been missing now for almost 3 weeks. And the case is no further forward. His family are still out there in Tenerife. In this video, I'm going to talk about a theory that Jay's dad has. But for the majority of this video, let's concentrate on the criminal underworld out there on Tenerife and the people associated with it. The Mail Online have been digging into the county lines connection, and reporter Fred Kelly reveals the growing links between Jay's final hours and the criminal underworld. And this is, according to the Mail Online, an exclusive investigation. However, all of this stuff that I'm going to read you from the Mail Online has been rumbling around on social media for days, moving into weeks now. I'll invite you to draw your own conclusions in the comments. I'm just going to put this out there as it stands, and I'm going to comment throughout. I've also got an interview with Peter Blexley, an ex-cop, and this was Peter talking to The Sun yesterday. He is talking along the same lines, so let's get into it. All right, so imagine the scene. As night falls, there's a cauldron of noise and narcotics at this Papagayo Beach Club. It's a jewel in the somewhat sordid crown of Veronica's Strip, a collection of neon-lit bars adjacent to the resort of Playa de las Americas in Tenerife. Every night this week, in what we might call the post-A-level party season, hundreds of British teenagers filled its chaotic dance floor on what for many was their first holiday without their families. When the Mail visited the self-proclaimed icon of the Canary Islands, it was full to bursting. But as the ear-splitting dance music blared, no one seemed to care or even remember that less than 3 weeks ago, the missing teenager, Jay Slater, had been doing exactly the same thing. And, you know, these young people who were out there partying, they're not interested in Jay Slater. Yeah, some of them might have watched a few TikToks, but they're not really interested. I don't think it's really affecting business, is it? This disappearance. So I'm not sure that I agree with Peter Blexley when he says that the cops don't want to investigate this. They want to shut it down because they don't want to interfere with the business out there.
Taking an overview from afar, which is what I've been doing, it seems clear to me that the Guardia Civil have left some huge gaps in their investigation. A particular concern was detectives returning to the Airbnb over 2 weeks after Jay's disappearance. It seems to me that any suggestion of foul play has largely and perhaps conveniently been ignored by the Guardia Civil, who essentially want to keep Tenerife running as a tourist destination. They don't want the public to be thinking that young Brits can go there on holiday and perhaps have something dreadful happen to them. So it seems to me this has been an investigation of convenience, and now their theory has proven to be not proven. I think they have quietly let it go away, and they're probably hoping that this story will drop off the front pages, that people will lose interest, and life will return to normal.
Having said that, maybe they don't want to step on any toes. So it's not the official businesses, the money going through the tills from club entrance fees or tickets or drinks. It's the criminal underworld that maybe they don't want to fall foul of. I don't know. But it was from here that the 19-year-old trainee bricklayer from Oswaldtwistle in the great county of Lancashire spent the final night before his bizarre disappearance. Images from the early hours of Monday, June 17th, showed Jay bare-chested on the club's dance floor. Like many revellers, his mouth was open and jaw locked to one side, an expression consistent with ecstasy or ketamine abuse. It was the final hours of the 3-day New Rave Generation Music Festival, which he and 3 friends, Lucy May Law, Brad Hargreaves and Hodgie, had flown out to attend. But Jay's night did not end well, having allegedly stolen a £12,000 Rolex watch from an unnamed Eastern European man. So that's the first time I've heard about the victim of this alleged theft. So an Eastern European person outside the club. Later allegedly sending a Snapchat message to friends saying he intended to sell it. And he said he intended to sell it for 10 quid. That's £10. I don't think so. Jay made what increasingly looked like an ill-fated getaway. So, it could well be that these 2 guys said, we've got an Airbnb miles away, come with us to escape from this raging Eastern European. And it could well be that that's the reason why he agreed to go with them. In the rental car of 2 mysterious men who drove the teenager to their Airbnb 25 miles north near the hilltop village of Masker. So we speculated, it's one of the great unanswered questions, why these 2 men, one of them, Ayub Qasim, it turns out, actually works in Tenerife at a coffee shop. I don't know whether he works there permanently. He can't do, I don't think. Now, lots of people have come into my comments and said, how is this convicted felon, Ayub Qasim, who's done 9 years in a British prison for drug dealing, flooding Cardiff in Wales with Class A's, how is it he's allowed to go to Tenerife? Well, you don't need a visa or a permit to go to Tenerife. There's no criminal investigations checks to go to Tenerife from the UK, to go to anywhere in Spain from the UK. If you go out there working permanently, if you're going out there for, I think it's more than 3 months, then yeah, you're going to have a problem. But if you're there for under 3 months, you're there as a holiday maker. Whether you take a job, maybe just paid cash in hand, no one's going to know. No one's going to know at all. But, the economy here isn't all about what goes through tills, is it? The majority of what he's earned is under the table, so to speak. And maybe it's that the cops don't want to interfere with. When approached by the Mail, Qasim, 31, who booked the Airbnb under another name, simply said, the only comment I have to make is that Jay came to the house alive and he left the house alive. Well, he said a little bit more than that. He said that he wouldn't have taken someone who he didn't know because apparently he knew the friends of Jay. So, there's been a lot said about the friends who Jay was with. It was Jay's first time out there, but it wasn't some of the friends' first time out there. So there was associations that were already, known between those people. Jay innocently went with these guys and got himself into hot water. Does that mean I think that they murdered Jay? No, I don't think so. I'll maintain that I believe Jay, for whatever reason, went the wrong way. Maybe, as Mark Williams-Thomas, the investigator, says, he was scared to go back. Maybe because they robbed him. I don't know. Maybe they said, come with us, get away from that Eastern European, and we'll buy that watch off you, but you'll have to come with us because we've got the money in our Airbnb 25 miles away. Ill-fated decision, a naive decision. I think it's something along those lines. And then if it's true that he was too scared to go back, I think, as I've been saying for days now, he headed towards the sea. I've gone through, maybe he headed up the mountain to the right of the road and then tried to get down to a town. Then I thought maybe he's tried to get to Los Cariales, thinking that that's where he needs to go to. Confusing Los Cristianos with Los Cariales makes sense. But for whatever reason, it appears that he went down the Barranco Juan Lopez trail, which there's lots of pictures and lots of reviews about that trail online. It's popular with hikers, but you can easily get off the trail. You can easily get lost. But Jay's dad seems to think that Jay did head towards the ocean. And did he make it there? I've speculated in several videos. Did he make it there?
Throughout the Guardia Civil search for Jay, we haven't heard any mention of searching the sea, with no vessels being deployed for that. And now that Jay's dad, Warren, raises this as a possibility, and let's remember, Warren has been out there for some considerable time. He has walked the routes time and time again. He's thoroughly familiarized himself with the territory. I think this is a possibility that maybe should have been explored earlier on during the search. But of course, the ocean is often very slow to give up its secrets, and sometimes it simply never does. So if this is a possibility, and if this has happened, then once again, my concerns for Jay's safety are grave, and my thoughts remain with the family, who must be going through absolute torture.
Have they done as thorough an investigation on the coastline as they should have done? I know there's been helicopters out there, but has it been as thoroughly investigated as it should have done? And no one has been down all of these ravines, have they, that are there? No one has been down there. Now, apparently the family have now got permission to bring in their own experts, to bring in their own search teams, and I hope that is done sooner rather than later, because until all of those ravines are fully investigated by experts who can, go through the caves and go along the ledges, under the ledges that a drone would not be able to see into, I'll continue to believe that Jay is somewhere there. If he's not in the Juan Lopez ravine, then he's in the Masca Gorge, or maybe he's in the one just north of that, and the name escapes me. But if he made it down to the sea, what are the chances that he might be in the sea? And if that's the case, well, Peter Blexley's right, that water doesn't want to give up its secrets. Anyway, back to Qasim. Unfortunately, as the true extent of Qasim's murky past emerges, this short riposte is proving hopelessly insufficient. Video footage from this year's Mobo Urban Music Awards, held in Sheffield in the UK, shows Qasim standing beside the prize-winning rapper wearing a garish diamond-encrusted necklace. Qasim also makes a cameo in one of the rapper's music videos. And it turns out that Boosba also has form when it comes to drugs. He was sentenced to more than 5 years in prison for running his own Class A narcotics operation in Barking, East London. Well, this is where Qasim's gone back to, a family apartment in Barking, which uses a county lines network of young people to deal drugs in provincial towns. So I think Qasim spends his time in Tenerife because he doesn't want to do this stuff in the UK anymore, because he's done time, he's done 9 years, he doesn't want to go back to prison. So Tenerife quite a lucrative market, isn't it? So working in his coffee shop, narcotics are his side hustle. So he's getting young people to deal for him. Was he recruiting Jay? Jay's first time out there. He's wet behind the ears. He's completely out of his depth. Unfortunately, this murky underworld has swallowed him. Indirectly, I believe. He was released in 2020 and now owns a marijuana store in Tenerife called Potter's Garden, which sells multiple strains of cannabis, including one notorious plant known only as Potter's Z. Possession of marijuana for personal use is not a criminal offence in Tenerife. Boosper's soft spot for high-strength cannabis is evident in his rap lyrics. One of his most popular tracks, Thanks for Waiting, opens with the line, "Nowadays, when I speak, it's a big saga. Nowadays, I collab with the weed farmer." The song also includes the line, "I don't smoke pagans, I smoke ganja spliffs." Great. Cool. What's more, Boosper is a known associate of a friend of another, more famous UK rapper, Big Nasty. Big Nasty. Who once had his own show on Channel 4 and also owns Tenerife's biggest and most notorious marijuana coffee shop, BDL. The New Wave Generation Festival held an event there the afternoon before Jay went missing. Marijuana coffee shop is at where Qasim's working. In other words, Jay Slater was not driven away from Papagayo by any normal fellow reveller, but by a convicted drug dealer with extensive and ongoing connections to the narcotics trade in both the UK and Tenerife. With this in mind, it seems astonishing that police allowed Qasim and his companion that night, known only as Johnny Vegas, to return to the UK. Well, they got no reason to hold them. This is the thing. What can they hold them on? You got to have probable cause to hold them. The duo were questioned but almost immediately released as Spanish detectives investigating Jay's disappearance with the police chief in charge of the operation. At the weekend, claiming that the pair were not in any way relevant to the case. Maybe, let's say this, maybe they don't want to explore them. Maybe there's some crooked cops. Let's put it this way. Maybe there's some crooked cops who are taking backhanders from these dealers to keep quiet. But is that directly relevant to why Jay went missing? I don't think so. Again, I think he walked away and I don't think he was murdered. He wasn't kidnapped. But it's relevant indirectly. It gives you the context. It perhaps outlines the naivety that Jay had and the bad decision-making that Jay was partaking in. It seems questionable, even by the standards of Tenerife's authorities, who have a remarkably relaxed attitude to the island's drug culture. Well, they're immune to it, and some of them are taking backhanders to keep quiet about it. Meanwhile, they are no closer to solving the mystery of Jay's disappearance. As we know, at around 5 a.m. on Monday, June 17th, he left Papagayo in a Seat Leon hire car. Jay, Qasim and the third man, Johnny Vegas, arrived at the £40 a night at the Casa Abula Tina rental property at approximately 7:30 a.m. Jay posted 2 images of himself on Snapchat, signalling he was safe and well. 30 minutes after that, he was spotted at a nearby bus stop by Ophelia Medina Hernandez, whose brother owns the Casa Abula Tina Airbnb. Ophelia told Jay the bus wasn't until 10, but rather than returning to the property, he made the inexplicable decision to attempt to walk the 25 miles south to his own lodgings. This begs some questions. Had a weekend-long binge left him tired, confused and behaving irrationally? Or did he fear for his safety at the Airbnb? Was he trying to escape from Qasim, his associate, or someone else? Possibly, if what Mark Williams Thomas is saying is correct. If he was afraid to go back, if he couldn't go back to get water or save himself, well, there's a reason for that. Had they robbed him? Had they said they were going to buy this watch off him and then they didn't? And they took the watch and they told him to get lost. Maybe. But he walked the wrong way. And I genuinely believe, at this moment in time, genuinely believe that he walked the wrong way. He had intended to go south. He went the wrong way. And then he saw the sea. And he thought, I know what, I'll just walk down to the sea. It won't be far. and I can just walk back to my accommodation that way. Did he get off the road? Did he feel that they were going to follow him? Did he feel that they were going to chase him? Ophelia went by him in her car. So what was Ophelia doing? Where was Ophelia going? Did he see Ophelia and then thought, oh, maybe I need to get off the road? Whatever the reason, Jay took the road north in the opposite direction to where his holiday apartment was situated, apparently on the basis that it was the route recommended by the Apple Maps on his phone, according to Mark Williams-Thomas, the former police officer who is unofficially investigating Jay's disappearance. The Apple Maps wouldn't tell him that, unless he was heading to the wrong location. At 8:30, he called Bradley Hargreaves, a friend who had travelled with him to Tenerife via Snapchat, saying that he'd left the road and was walking cross-country. 20 minutes later, showing the first signs of distress, he rang a second holiday companion, Lucy May Law, to reveal he was lost in the mountains with no water and 1% battery. Jay's phone then pings at 8:51 in a ravine within the rural Deteno Park, a few miles north of Masca, which is his last known location. He wasn't down a ravine when it pinged. He was kind of going down the hill. On Thursday morning, the Mail visited the deep and treacherous ravine, where rescuers had conducted an ultimately fruitless 12-day search before calling off their efforts last Sunday. The terrain is unforgiving. Sharp-needled cacti grow higher than a man's head, and there's no sound other than the noise of geckos scuttling in the undergrowth and the distant howl of the wind above the ravine. Alone in the morning heat, one false step could easily have led to a fall and near certain death. In a sinister twist, the Mail found eerie signs of life in one of two ruined homesteads in the ravine. Shoelaces tied with twigs to form haunting symbols like something out of a horror film. Empty water bottles, and most strange of all, a set of clean women's clothes. Climbing out of the ravine and looking back down at the dense shrubbery, it's easy to see how a body could go undiscovered. One woman who bravely refuses to give up hope of finding Jay is his devoted mother, Debbie Duncan, along with his father, Warren, and brother, Zach. She has been staying at the Club Tenerife Hotel in Los Cristianos, desperately hoping for good news, or, at the very least, closure. We are a very close family and are absolutely devastated about his disappearance, Debbie said in a statement on Tuesday. Words cannot describe the pain and agony we are experiencing. He's a beautiful boy with his whole life ahead of him, and we just want to find him. Yet the Jay Slater case has certainly done little to dampen the enthusiasm of revellers on this party island. Kevin Malloy, a 22-year-old from Ireland, is on a 9-week holiday in Tenerife with his girlfriend. They both enjoy a long summer away from college. Jay disappeared 3 weeks into their trip, but Kevin barely registered it. A bartender mentioned it to me, he said, but otherwise I haven't seen any posters or anything, just what I've read online. Indeed, the internet has become a cesspit of conspiracy theories propagated by amateur sleuths. It's impossible to know what to believe, admits Kevin, who is clearly unconcerned. But others are taking Jay's disappearance more seriously. Two 20-year-old holidaymakers called Harry and Ed are enjoying a week away. We're certainly more wary now, says Harry. Our families warned us to be careful, and we won't be going to Veronica's. Just minutes before talking with the Mail, the pair had been approached near the strip in the middle of the day and offered CHORLEY, which I think means cocaine, Harry added tentatively. Of course you know what it means, Harry. I had a similar experience while walking down Veronica's in the early afternoon. A group of North African men purported to sell knockoff designer sunglasses approached me. What are you really selling? I asked them. A grin came across the face of one of the street hawkers. Coke, marijuana, come with me, friend. It was as simple as that. The latest revelations about the drug links of Jay's last known associate, Ayub Qasim, only deepened suspicions that his disappearance is in some way linked to the island's thriving narcotics trade. It's an association that has begun to tarnish the name of Jay Slater, who had a previous conviction for assault. There's more to this than meets the eye, a man in his 50s told the Mail, his belly bulging over Wolverhampton Wanderers football shorts. I've read about Jay Slater's past. He isn't your average young man. Something doesn't add up. Indeed, the longer this unsolved case rolls on, the more suspicion seems to arise. Jay Slater is not the only British citizen to go missing on Tenerife. Kevin Ainsley, 24, also from Lancashire, was working as a promoter for a bar when he disappeared just over 2 decades ago. He remains missing to this day. And in 2019, 34-year-old father of 2 Peter Wilson went missing after a night out. His body was found 2 years later at the bottom of a sheer drop beside a shopping mall. Both of these disappearances represent tragedy for their families. It must not be forgotten that the heart of Jay's story is a mother who is desperately clinging onto the hope that her son is still alive. But sadly, as the days go by here in Tenerife, Debbie Duncan's desperate calls for help are becoming even fainter, drowned out by the thudding dance music that pervades this notorious party island. Well, that was a good read. Look, there's other missing people in the Canary Islands. This is the Missing Persons Tenerife Facebook page. And they're just saying, these are our current cases being tracked in this group. It's not a list of every missing person in the Canary Islands or in Tenerife, only those being focused on in this group. So we've got Jay, we've got Marek J, 51, a Polish national, missing since the 8th of June. Mark Francis, a Belgian national, along with his wife, whose remains were found dead at sea from their home, 24th of April 2024. That's an active investigation of a violent crime. 3 arrests having been made last week. Ray Court Garcia Diaz, 44, vulnerable local man, went missing along with his car from Barranco Hondo, 15th of March. Noella Hernandez Martin, 17, missing since 23rd of January, just 17. Juan Cabrera Gonzalez, vulnerable local man who may have become disoriented. So we can't say that all of these are linked to Jay's disappearance. When you focus on a particular area, it starts to look like there's connections. And this one's a crime. These two, the local guys, probably had accidents. There's also 2 other cases that the group's investigating, requested by their families. Marek Sajdalecki, a Polish national, went missing along with a sailing yacht while sailing alone. Last located south of Fuerteventura on 13th of June. Believe the boat had technical problems. And then Gary Watson Shearer, 53, British tourist, who went missing in Lanzarote on the 16th of March 2023. Now, Gary, I did a video about Gary a while ago over on Michelle Walks. Having exhausted all leads, the police case has been closed, unresolved, but there remains an active search campaign by his family. These are just those in this group. I don't think they're connected to Jay. When you focus on one particular area, it's like every case becomes a red flag. But we can't forget that there are other people in this area also missing. Jay's case has taken off. Cases like Gary's, though, Gary Shearer, didn't take off at all, and his family are just left with all of these questions, and it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.